as a young artist visiting art museums, I found myself very dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the questions they were asking, dissatisfied with the way they were solving those questions, and I drifted in a very natural way to the Natural History Museum, this place where people asked quite significant questions, profound questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? What are our obligations to the natural world? What does nature mean? How does it change? Where are we in this trajectory of the history of the planet? You know, these are interesting questions. So much of the art I was looking at was asking questions about art, with art, and the Natural History Museum was using artful methods to ask really significant questions. So I was drawn immediately to the culture around the Natural History Museum. You know, the Natural History Museum here in Berlin is an elite museum in that it continues to have a very strong research branch. So the curators behind the scenes are researching, practicing scientists. A lot of museums don't have that function anymore. So that becomes that's a really interesting aspect of this museum. If you could go behind the scenes, you would see this culture of practicing scientists, of people asking questions about the form of evolution and traveling the world. So I became really interested in what those people are doing. You know, that's an invisible part of the museum for most visitors. But these scientists also have a long history, and they have a material culture. You know, they are like a distinct, strange tribe, right? They're a group of people who have their philosophy, their way of doing things, their tools and technologies. So that's what inspired this project. That's what we thought we would work on. An ethnographic museum is trying to understand different cultures by an accumulation of their things, their material culture, their tools and technologies, their objects that they use to get through the day, right? So I'm interested in looking at a particular culture, and that's the culture of field biologists. So Christina Heidemann and I have gone through the back rooms of the Natural History Museum trying to find this material culture of field biology. Not what they take out of an expedition, but what they bring to the expedition. What are they carrying? Their compasses and their flashlights and their nets and their collecting apparatus and their the tools and things that they need to be comfortable in the field. All of this is a really interesting, rich story that that is bound up in this collection of stuff. The biologists travel into the field, and with them they bring these tools, and they bring tools like this hammer, for example, right? And this has been, who knows where it's been? It's been all over the world. This has probably been on the expedition to Cuba, but it looks like it's much older than that, right? So this may have been something left over from the 19th century. A lot of the interesting things about these tools is that they've lost their story, right? We don't know whose this is. We don't know which expedition this is. So some of the objects that we're finding, we're trying to reconnect with those stories. And this, as you see, it has these 10-centimeter measurements on it. It's clearly been used in multiple expeditions. It has a chip here, which means that it was very robustly used. So all of these objects have these stories to tell, some of which we know because we connect them with the living biologist, some of which we don't know. Some of them are associated with some of the expeditions here, and this is an institution that has done dozens and dozens of expeditions going way back over 100 years. So the back rooms and the store rooms of this place are filled with objects of significance like this. Within natural history museums, there's been a crisis of identity, right? What are they actually for, right? The 19th century museums are really using this taxonomic principle as a way of organization, and they are in some way a kind of encyclopedia, right? And then you have later on, with the understanding of the mechanisms of evolution, the museum becomes a didactic space to talk about evolution, and also research institutions like this to look into evolution. But now we have something very different. We have this tremendous extinction crisis caused by human behavior, and we have dramatic planetary changes like global warming. So the Natural History Museum also has to evolve its role in what is it supposed to be doing. And part of that undoubtedly becomes a more political, more activist role in trying to think about why we need to protect and preserve the natural world.